Having the ability to influence will make such a drastic difference on your life and your business. It will make sales easier, marketing easier, and will overall make your experience running a business so much simpler and so much more effective. The ability to influence has been known by the greats since the beginning of time. Literally, you name it, whether it's Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, or even when it comes to the current day presidency, the ability that they have over influencing what you think, what you believe, and also how do you see their ideas makes such a drastic difference on your life. And also, the more that you understand this, you're going to actually understand that the world has such a drastic influence on you and your perception. So yeah, in today's video, we're just going to discuss on basically the ability to influence and how to influence anyone in just basic English. So you don't need the most complex words. You don't need to, say things and phrase stuff in such a complicated matter. All you need is just basic English. And also, this is coming from someone who runs a marketing agency and I'm also managing a sales team at the moment. So I've got more than my fair share of experience in this. And also, since I've been running my marketing agency since I was 16, stopped, did a few other things, and then started back up again when I was at the age of 20. But yeah, let's just discuss this. So when it comes to having the ability to influence, it also has the ability of planting seeds in people's head because one of the best factors is to make it sound like it's their own idea. I know you've heard this before, but there are certain particular ways that you can do this. You can do this by creating a statement. So let's just say, for example, let's just say I'm in a car. So, and I'm speaking to someone and be like, taxi drivers make, let's just say taxi drivers make $44 an hour. Let's just say they're in Brisbane, they earn, let's just say about $30 an hour. And it'll be like, well, I've read in a study that taxi drivers are making $44 an hour. But the driver corrects me and he's like, no, we only earn $25 plus whatever trip fee we get back and forth. Wherefore, they actually corrected you and they believed they were actually in the power of the frame. That is one of the most important things because when it comes to making them correct the fact, they come up with a statement and believe, okay, well, I'm correcting this information because he got this information wrong. He believed this is correct, but that statement doesn't make it. And then I'll follow up by saying, then I thought you were in the 25% tax bracket. And he'll be like, yes or no. And then explain, hey, this is how many hours I do. This is what I do. Or let's just say if I'm trying to get information out of someone. But when it comes down to, okay, let's just say, hey, brokers make 5% commission on every deal they make. They can make $5,000 in a paycheck. You'll correct me and be like, no, they only make 0.5 or 0.3% commission. Yet they only are limited based on the variable amount of factors. But we can only be able to access this once we end up helping the customer get to their desired state. That's the thing. So what you need to do is to have statements that make basically, instead of asking a question, you're better off creating a statement that basically outlines an incorrect fact. And then they can then correct the fact and be like, okay, well, I'm in control of this conversation. And also it makes such a drastic difference. When it comes to your marketing, when you make bold statements, when it comes to your sales and you say, hey, we're going to offer this, and then obviously you have to do it according to Australian law. But let's just say when it comes to your sales, or hey, we're going to offer this, or you currently offer this, and it'd be like, no, you offer that, for example. But that's just a basic thing. So the ability to create statements instead of questions will make such a drastic difference because once you start planting that seed, once they start correcting the fact, then become more open to provide more details. They then become more open to give you more of an explanation, to give you more accreditations based on the information that they have given. It's sort of like as soon as you start watering that seed, giving it a lot of sunlight, it's just going to start to grow. And then as soon as you basically position a next question of like, hey, I thought you only drive XYZ cars, or hey, I only thought you worked in asset finance, or I only thought you only worked with real estate agents, then that's when it allows them to recorrect it. And this also ties into one of the most powerful things as well. It is minimizing your words and also making sure that your words are precise. So this comes into two factors. So one, minimizing your words. So minimizing all the fluff. What I mean by this is making sure your statements are short and sharp. There are times where you need to explain yourself a bit more given the current situation, or where you can explain yourself a bit more and then just give them a whole bunch of beating around the bush and sort of give them that over explanation, if that makes sense. Because then you're able to sort of create that distraction. You're able to create that distraction so they think, hey, let's unfocus on the main thing that you're talking about and then focus on the other factor. The reason why you do this is basically control and distraction. So you have it's literally in its direction and redirection. So you direct them to the statement and then you provide all the fluff so they get all the nitty gritty details that they don't need. That's enough of a redirection to make them think, okay, well, this isn't so much important because you're also providing XYZ detail about the certain thing. The whole point why you do this is so then you can then give them the information that you don't want them to know. So you direct them towards the information that you don't want them to know, and then you redirect them with the next selected information. And what the importance of this is, if you don't want someone to know a certain fact, a certain being, or let's just say, even wanting to know a certain thing about you or about your company, it's going to make such a drastic difference that once you start providing that fluff, once you start providing that ulterior information, they're then going to be like, oh, shiny object, let's carry that, because that's just how the brain works. Once we start to get new information, once we start to get new ideas, new thoughts, people want to always act on it. You see it within yourself. You see it within a lot of the people in the B2C market, not so much in the B2B market. A lot of people want to focus on that new shiny thing, that new bit of information. It just literally just grips them in and be like, I need to take this now. I need to know what is happening. I need to understand. I need to see what this new bit of information is. And that's when you can also tie it in with silence. Silence is one of the most important things because the only way that you're going to get information is by allowing them to speak. And when you allow them to speak, they think they are by far the most important person within the room. Once they think they are the most important person within the room, then they're going to think like, hey, I'm the top dog. I can do whatever I want. I have no barriers. I can say, I can do, I can think, I can believe without no restrictions. And that is so freeing, but also that is so limited because then let's just say you ask a question of how much did you do in this month? What information you need to know. So let's just say whether you want to know more about that contract. Okay. Because it seems like you're doing great in the sales this month. I heard you've also got a contract that is restricting the amount of profits that you can be making. And then you obviously allow them to say yes or no and give an explanation why. And obviously then you can start to drag more information. And this is when we start the seed planting. Because you see it a lot in politics. So people like to straw man. People like to basically beat up an opponent which can't defend themselves. You see this in politics, you see this in marketing, you see this in certain individuals who have a force, but also they do it in such a particular way where they explain it, but they don't fully explain the whole concept. So the way that I'm saying this is that you plant the seed of, let's just say, hey, like they're about to straw man, but you plant the seed of, okay, well, what's the current plan of attack? Okay, well, I need to go from X, Y, and Z. So the current plan of attack is X, Y, and Z. Let's then let's just try and then mention about 1. Okay, so what's the importance of 1 to do with X, Y, and Z? So the importance of 1 to do with X, Y, and Z is then to allow them to get sidetracked and then you start planting the seed. And then this is when you use your redirection to be like, okay, let's follow on X, Y, Z. Then you redirect them to 1. But yeah, that's why I'm saying just also, once you keep your language concise, once you keep your language consistent, once you minimize on all the fluff, once you add redirection and direction, and also once you provide statements over questions, people are going to then be able to open up your world. And also people are then going to be able to get more in-depth information without you having to say too much, but with you only planting small ideas, because then you can also do one of my personal favorite things is the reflection flow. That's a tongue twister. But what I like to do as well is when you basically plant a seed, you're like, hey, what do you think of this? So you plant the seed, you put the idea in their head. Then after that, you'd be like, hey, I just wanted to bring this up. What do you think of this? Because you mentioned it oddly within the conversation. Then they think, and then they tell you their own thoughts and ideas. Where you just made the suggestion of being like, I thought, let's just say, for example, I thought the sky is blue. And then they follow by saying, no, the sky is green and the clouds are like the sky is green and like our moon's a sun or what, I mean, our moon's a star or whatever. You get the actual idea of what they're thinking, how they think, and also that gives them enough time to reflect. But also the best thing is that you don't actually say what it is. You just give them a bit of information, then they just run off with it and then come up with the next concept, if that makes sense. But yeah, pretty much anyone, if you're looking, not anyone, but if you're a broker in the finance space, or if you're in the housing or real estate or investment property space, if you need any help with your marketing, click the link below in the description, claim your free application. We can work one-on-one. Or if you need more free resources, there's also going to be another link down below where you can get my free social media guide. Oh yeah, whether you need it or not, it is what it is. It's there. And then if you guys want to get a bit more information on how to get the most amount of clicks on your ads, watch this video on your screen over here. Okay, 5 ways how to make your copy irresistible to clicks. I was almost there. But other than that, that's going to be me done, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.